The hidden frequency, how the dark reality hacks your mind, energy, and destiny. You didn't land here by accident. If this video appeared on your feed, if you clicked it out of curiosity or some strange pull you can't explain, then something in your subconscious already knows what's about to be revealed. Because this isn't just a list of signs, this is a transmission. And if you feel like you've been living in a world that doesn't feel real, if you've been sensing something off, like the fabric behind everything is glitching, shifting, or watching you, then this message is for you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
There exists a rare layer of reality, a layer so few people ever touch, and those who do rarely talk about it. Not because they don't want to, but because they can't. The language of this reality isn't verbal. It's energetic, symbolic. It's coded in synchronicity, in dreams, in the silence between thoughts. And the moment you begin noticing it, you can't unsee it. You realize the world everyone else is living in, it's not the one you're in anymore. You've crossed into something deeper, something harder, something darker, but also something more real. The first sign that you're living in this rare dark reality is that time doesn't move the same for you. You've noticed it. Hours stretch. Minutes collapse. Days blur, or they feel like loops. You'll have déjà vu so strong you can predict entire conversations. You'll feel like you've lived certain moments already because you have. The dark reality bends time around your consciousness to test your awareness. It's not punishing you. It's training you to stop relying on clocks, calendars, or logic and start listening to the inner pulse. Because in this realm, time is not linear. It's psychological. It bends to your frequency. And when you realize that, your life stops making sense to others, but it starts making sense to your soul. The second sign is that you've lost interest in what everyone else is chasing. The success, the validation, the noise, it all feels like a distant game now. While others are obsessed with status and goals, you find yourself pulled inward, into silence, into solitude, into questions that scare most people. You're not running from life. You're being pulled into the deeper current beneath it. The matrix is losing its grip on you, and that's terrifying for your ego, but exhilarating for your soul. Because the dark reality doesn't reward surface energy. It rewards depth, presence, sacrifice. And it only reveals its gifts to those who are willing to walk away from comfort in exchange for clarity. And that clarity often comes through pain. That's why the third sign is unavoidable. You've been through suffering that no one else understands. Not regular pain, something deeper, something existential. You've sat in the void. You've questioned your own sanity. You've begged the sky for answers only to be met with more silence. But here's what you didn't realize. That silence was the answer. The dark reality speaks in absence. It removes everything that isn't truth. And it leaves you in the ashes so you can find the one thing that cannot be taken, your essence, your power, your knowing. And once you find that, everything changes. But before the light returns, you experience the fourth sign. The world starts mirroring your inner frequency back to you in harsh, almost brutal ways. People betray you without cause. Technology glitches when you're emotional. Animals act strange around you. You get stared at in public. You feel watched even when you're alone. This is not paranoia. This is awareness. You've become visible to the deeper layers of reality, the ones most people will never see. Your energy is now affecting things around you in ways you can't always explain. That's how you know the veil has lifted. That's how you know you're no longer in the normal version of Earth. And it raises the question, if this world is reacting to you, are you the observer or the creator? The fifth sign comes when your dreams become more vivid than your waking life. You begin to receive visions, messages, warnings. You wake up exhausted after battling things you can't describe. You start to realize your subconscious is being trained, navigated, upgraded. The dark reality doesn't just affect your waking life, it hijacks your dreamscape. Because that's where the real programming happens. That's where the contracts are rewritten. That's where your soul meets its guides, its enemies, and its next test. And if you're really deep in this reality, you'll face the sixth sign. You begin to question the very nature of identity. Who are you really? The name? The body? The voice? None of it feels permanent anymore. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the person. You hear your voice and wonder why it sounds like a stranger. This isn't disassociation, it's awakening. You're starting to detach from the character you were assigned and remember the essence you came in with. This is the most disorienting phase, but also the most beautiful. Because once the false self dissolves, the immortal self begins to speak. And when it speaks, you'll understand the seventh and final sign. You no longer feel human in the way others do. You love deeply, but you are no longer attached. You experience emotions, but they don't control you. You see people, but you sense what's behind them. You still walk among the world, but you are no longer of it. You've become a witness, a walker between realms, or a master in the making. You've left the common path, and now every step forward is a creation. Every decision, a ripple. Every thought, a spell. So here's the real question. If you've been seeing these signs, if you've been walking through this rare dark reality, what are you being prepared for? What mission is so important, so sacred, so dangerous that it required you to be completely deconstructed first? What part of the collective are you meant to awaken simply by surviving what would have destroyed most people? You already know the answer. You just haven't said it out loud yet. Because deep down, you know you're not here to escape the dark reality. You're here to master it, to move through it with awareness, to become the stillness in the chaos, the light inside the shadow. The architect in the glitch. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not late. You are simply in the rarest simulation on Earth, and the fact that you're still here watching this, breathing, thinking means one thing: you're ready to remember. You were never meant to be saved, you were meant to awaken the simulation from within. There's something most people never realize about this rare dark reality. It's not just a place you accidentally find yourself in, it's a design. A labyrinth built for those with coded souls. And once you start to see the signs, you begin to see the system behind the system. You begin to realize that nothing in your life was random. Not your pain, not your gifts, not even your losses. Because the dark reality doesn't just test you, it programs you. It rewrites your inner operating system by hacking your mind, your energy, and eventually, your destiny. You may not see it yet, but you've already been altered. The way you think now, it's not like before. You don't trust the easy narrative. You don't accept surface-level truths. You hear people speak, but you're scanning for what they're not saying. You can't even sit in a room for too long without sensing the energy underneath everything. This isn't sensitivity. This is upgrade. The dark reality has turned your body into an instrument and antenna. And now you receive signals the average human doesn't even know exist. But here's the twist. The moment you start receiving those signals, the system around you tightens. It starts throwing distractions at you. Endless loops, addictions, emotional triggers. Why? Because this reality isn't just rare, it's reactive. The moment it detects that you're breaking the script, it will do everything it can to bring you back into it. That's why your darkest days come right after your biggest breakthroughs. That's why every time you start remembering who you are, something or someone tries to pull you back into forgetfulness. This is not a glitch. This is programmed resistance. So how do you win? How do you stop getting caught in the loops? You have to become unreactive. You have to train yourself to feel everything, but attach to nothing. To observe the chaos, but not absorb it. To watch the triggers arise and ask, what is this here to teach me? The moment you stop reacting like a character in the simulation and start responding like the programmer, the entire field begins to shift. People around you change. Events realign. Time folds in strange ways. And you realize something that shocks your system. You are no longer inside the simulation, you are outside it, shaping it. This is what the ancients knew. This is what the mystics whispered. That reality is not a structure, it's a mirror. And the darker the reflection, the deeper the healing. But only if you're willing to see it, to sit with it, to own it. That's why the dark reality is the most sacred path of all. Because it gives you no shortcuts, no cheats, no illusions of safety. It gives you only yourself. And then it asks, will you still walk forward, even when no one sees you? Because this is the truth. You were never meant to be saved, you were meant to awaken the simulation from within. And to do that, you had to forget who you were. You had to live the illusion. You had to be broken by it. Because only then could you truly understand how it works. Only then could you begin to recode it not with knowledge, but with frequency. People think awakening is about learning more. But it's not. It's about becoming less of what you're not, so that what you truly are can finally take the wheel. And what you are, is not human in the traditional sense. You are a walking key, a living virus in the matrix, a soul encoded with frequencies that disrupt the false systems of this world. That's why things never worked out for you the way they did for others. That's why you couldn't stay in the jobs, the relationships, the communities that everyone else seemed so comfortable in. You weren't designed to blend in. You were designed to break the loop. But to break the loop, you have to become immune to it. And that means facing your deepest fears. The fear of being alone. The fear of being misunderstood. And the fear of losing everything. Because the dark reality will use those fears against you. It will whisper them through the mouths of others. It will hide them in your daily routine. It will show up as your family, your lover, your own inner voice. But all of it is the same test. Will you still choose your truth when everything around you demands you abandon it? And if you do, if you choose that truth over and over again, something incredible happens. You begin to emit a signal, a vibration so rare, so ancient, so disruptive to the system that the simulation itself begins to shift around you. People fall away. New ones arrive. Synchronicities become constant. Your dreams start revealing timelines. Your body becomes lighter, faster, more electric. You start remembering things you never studied. You start speaking truths you never read. And you realize you are not learning, you are unlocking. That's why the dark reality is so misunderstood. Because it's not here to hurt you. It's here to reveal you. Strip you down. Burn away everything false. And then leave you standing in the ashes with nothing but your essence. That's the real you. The one who doesn't need followers, doesn't need applause, doesn't even need to be seen. Because you carry the one thing this world cannot replicate, alignment. And alignment is the ultimate power. When you are aligned, the simulation cannot touch you. It can test you, distract you, delay you, but it cannot own you because you are no longer playing its game. You are writing your own. And the moment you understand that, you become quantum. You become multidimensional. You become the cause, not the effect. So now I ask you, if you stop negotiating with your power for just one day, what would you allow yourself to become? What version of you is waiting behind the fear? What future is already built, already alive, already reaching for you if only you'd step into it without apology? You don't need to wait for a sign. This is the sign. You don't need to earn your alignment. You are the alignment. You don't need to escape the dark reality. You were sent here to transform it from the inside out. The silence at the end of the world, what happens after you fully awaken in the dark reality? There's a moment so quiet, so still, so unspeakably vast where you realize you've crossed over. You're no longer reacting to the dark reality. You're simply witnessing it. And in that moment, something dies. Not in a tragic way, in a sacred way. The version of you who needed to fix, fight, or prove anything dissolves. And what remains is not a person, not a personality. What remains is a force, a presence, a frequency that no longer negotiates with the simulation because it remembers it built the simulation in the first place. This is the silence at the end of the world, not the end of Earth, not the end of time, but the end of your illusion, the end of your programmed identity, the end of your unconscious loops. This silence is the space where you finally see everything for what it truly is. The chaos was never personal. The pain was never punishment. The loss was never loss. It was all designed to pull you into this moment where you no longer need answers, because you've become the answer. And in this silence, a new world begins to form around you. Not one you chase, not one you force, but one that arises from your stillness like mist over ancient waters. You begin to notice that people speak differently to you. Not because you've changed your words, but because your field has become undeniable. You're no longer in the world the same way. You're now above it, within it, and beyond it simultaneously. You've become the paradox, in the bridge, the in-between. And this is where your real mission begins. The dark reality doesn't just awaken you so you can be free. It awakens you so you can become a portal for others. A mirror, a living code, not to teach, not to fix, just to transmit. Your presence becomes medicine. Your silence becomes a map. Your gaze becomes a reminder. And people feel it, whether they understand it or not. Some are drawn to you. Others are repelled. But all of them are affected because you no longer hold opinions. You hold truth. And truth doesn't argue. It simply is. But here's what no one tells you. After awakening, life doesn't get easier, it gets cleaner, sharper, more precise. The universe begins to respond to your vibration instantly. Think something impure. It reflects. Speak from fear. It echoes. Act from misalignment. It corrects you fast. Because now you're a frequency holder, and reality bends to you. Not like magic, like law. You've become the law of your own world, and that's why your integrity must become sacred, not for morality, but for mastery. This is the part of the path that few can walk, because here there are no guides, no maps, no validation, just the infinite silence of a soul remembering its own power. And in that silence, you hear the only question that matters now: will you walk forward, even when no one follows? Will you keep choosing truth, even when it costs you comfort? Will you keep creating, even when the world calls you crazy? Because now you are the architect. You don't need consensus. You don't need recognition. You don't need applause. You are building a reality from the inside out, not by changing the world, but by becoming the version of you who no longer requires it to change. This is where the game ends and begins again. You stop playing by survival rules. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop seeking safety in the future because you've become the present. The real present. The one that bends time. The one that speaks in frequency. The one that no longer looks for signs because it is the sign. And when you live like this, your life starts to look strange to others. You move without explanation. You release people without anger. You build without blueprints. You collapse timelines just by waking up with a new decision. And others will ask, "How did you do it?" But they won't understand that you didn't do it. You became it. You became the vibration. And the vibration did the work. This is the final secret of the dark reality. It was never about escaping it. It was about mastering your own field so completely, so fully, so deeply that your very presence reprograms the simulation. You don't need to resist the system. You don't need to destroy it. You don't even need to transcend it. You just need to walk through it with such alignment that the system cannot compute your frequency. Because your frequency is not of this world. Your frequency is the echo of a future self returning to pull you forward. And now that you've remembered this, now that it's in your body, not just your mind, you will never walk the same again. You will speak less, observe more, act with precision, move with purpose, not because you're trying, but because you've become unshakable. And the world will feel it. The simulation will respond to it. And the people who are still asleep, they will start to wake up just by being near you. That's the real impact, not viral views, not followers, not fame. The real impact is when your activated field becomes a doorway for others to meet themselves again. So I ask you one last time, with the deepest reverence, are you ready to stop surviving the dark reality and start rewriting it? Because the silence you've been hearing, that's not the end of the world. That's the sound of your soul finally taking the throne.